How's it going, guys and girls? Hope you guys had a great week. So I'm back today with just a general video. I wanted today to talk about my thoughts on the Sony State of Play, which basically aired last night about 11 p.m. UK time. So I didn't have time last night to get my thoughts together and record this. I'm doing this on Friday evening, but I wanted to talk about it and my general thoughts on it. Overall, my impressions of the State of Play, not fantastic. I actually thought that it was kind of disappointing. I was actually really disappointed with the State of Play. I was hoping to see a lot more than we actually did get to see. The State of Play itself was about 30 minutes and there were 14 games roughly, both PlayStation 5 and PS VR2 titles that were showcased. The pacing was pretty good. It was pretty punchy from game to game to game to game. We got to see some gameplay, mixture cinematic across the board. And it was cool to see some new IPs and some new titles that we haven't heard about before, and some that we had heard about but didn't really know too much about. So it was cool to get some new information on some stuff. But yeah, for me, it was a bit meh. It was a bit flat, and I wasn't overly blown away by everything that was shown. For me, the State of Play this month was very much a mixture of live service titles, which we know Sony are obviously focusing on at the moment, even though I personally feel that that is a mistake for them to focus so much on live service titles. I feel a lot of people are burnt out on that, and not every game can be an incredible success like Helldivers 2. That is like a rare situation, and Helldivers 2 is fabulous, by the way, but I don't feel that every game is going to be like that. And some of these games that I actually saw in the showcase, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be as successful as Helldivers 2 personally, but we'll talk about them and obviously get to that. So it was either a live service or it was kind of FromSoft style, Elden Ring, Souls-like-esque vibe and style type games. Everybody trying to get in on that Elden Ring like tail, right? Like that is clearly what is happening, and that was very much the vibe that we got, from this. There was a lot of, I think, Japanese sort of Asian studios, and that's cool to see them get a showcase on some things, which was really awesome, but nothing from the first party studios that I would have liked to have seen, but I'll talk about that further on. So let's talk about what was shown. So the first game that was showcased was Concord. This is from Firewalk Studios. It started off with a cinematic trailer, and the idea of it was obviously to give us a sense of the characters, the world, the humor, who these characters are, how they kind of, bounce off of each other. It very much gave me Beyond Good and Evil meets Guardians of the Galaxy vibes, and I was kind of like all for it. Like when I first saw it, I'm like, dude, I could get down with this. Like, I am interested in this world, and if they made this like a multiplayer game in the style of Borderlands, where you could play through a really cool story and world and setting with your friends as a first-person shooter, I would be game for that. But this isn't that, unfortunately. It is a 5v5 action hero shooter. That is pretty much what it is. So you can play as the North Star, part of the crew of the North Star, and these are like guns for hire, known as free gunners, and you will be in a team of 5. There are going to be multiple selectable characters, and you are basically facing off against other free gunners in missions and objectives to try and beat them, and whatever. Apparently there are going to be 16 characters, which we did see on the roster because I counted, so maybe they will be available from day one. And we do know that we're getting a pre-launch beta in July, with a full launch taking place on the 23rd of August, which will be releasing simultaneously on PlayStation 5 and PC. And we know that Sony is doing this for all of their live service titles. They will be released simultaneously on PC and PlayStation 5, and that makes sense because obviously you want that player base to be as large as possible, and why would you miss out on the PlayStation community? That just wouldn't make any sense. So it is coming out in August. Now apparently they have said, the developers, that they haven't forgotten about the importance of characters and character development. They want you to get to know these characters and the world. So they're going to have weekly vignettes, which are basically cutscenes, which will showcase different characters and their backstory and things like that. That's cool. I think that's a cool thing. I know definitely the Overwatch community would have absolutely loved that to have been a thing in Overwatch. So that is going to be here. But for me personally, I've played a lot of Destiny 2, and they also have weekly missions where you get sort of story beats and weekly cutscenes and things like that in between segments. But I actually find that weekly kind of cycle of like forcing you to play every week to not miss out on these things, for me, it affects my enjoyment. It affects the pacing of the story, and these are more, I think, going to be tacked on little snippets, little tidbits of things, rather than a core story at its heart. This is not what this is going to be. It's going to be predominantly just multiplayer 5v5 short FPS games where you can jump in, have a little bit of fun with your friends, which, you know, for some people might be absolutely what they want. For me personally, not really my cup of tea, so I'm not really interested that much in Concord as a result of it. We did get an announcement that God of War Ragnarok is getting a release on PC, which was expected. It's also going to include the Valhalla DLC, and it is going to be releasing on the 19th of September, which is awesome. So yeah, I'm glad to see God of War Ragnarok coming to PC. I think that's fantastic for people that maybe played the original God of War obviously on PC and now get to experience what is a fantastic sequel. And I know Dante is very interested in picking this up on PC because he doesn't have a PlayStation 5, so he's really interested in checking it out and picking it up. We also got another kind of hero shooter style game from NetEase Games. This is a Marvel game, a Marvel franchise, which is called Marvel Rivals. This is a third-person PvP hero shooter, and it's going to get a closed beta on PlayStation. Apparently, it's going to be a free-to-play game, which will have 19 characters upon release. And yeah, recently there was a closed alpha test for the game, though there was some controversy surrounding it because apparently one streamer by the name of Brandon Land effectively revealed that the developers NetEase had actually imposed a non-disparagement clause in the contract given to content creators. So they basically couldn't say anything bad about the game, which is, for me, awful and not a good sign that this is going to be a good game. Because if you are putting that kind of clause in, that tells me that you are not confident in your product, that you are not confident in the quality of your game. So I don't know. And the gameplay looked a little messy to me, just a little messy, and yeah, so we'll see what it looks like. Obviously there were a lot of really sort of Souls-like FromSoft style games this year. The most interesting one for me was Ballad of Antara, which is coming out in 2025. This is a world-bending action RPG. Apparently it's going to be a free-to-play game, which is really interesting. When I read up on this afterwards, the trailer, for me, I liked it. It looked really cool. The world and art style looked pretty funky, but the more I've read up on it, the more interesting this sounds. So it's a multiplayer game. You can play it solo, single player, and it will have a fully single player narrative campaign, but you can actually jump into this game with friends, so it will support up to 3-player cooperative multiplayer, and you can actually play as potentially multiple characters. These are known as emissaries, with each emissary having its own class and its own unique abilities. So yeah, it looks cool. I'm very interested to learn more, most definitely. I'm kind of hoping the gameplay isn't like FromSoft, like Souls-like, because I kind of bounce off of Souls-like games, although I did really enjoy Stellar Blade recently, and that sort of got like Souls-like-esque gameplay. So I suppose it depends on how hardcore it is for me as to whether or not I bounce off of it or not. But we are apparently going to learn more towards the back end of this year. So I'm very interested to learn more. We then also got the other Souls-like game which was announced, which was Where Winds Meet. This is from the developer Everstone. It's set for release in 2025. This is going to be an open world action RPG. It's actually set in ancient China during the 5 Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms era. And yeah, it looked pretty cool. Like, the art style looked gorgeous. The combat looked kind of fun. You play as a young martial artist, so you can have different weapons at your disposal. It looked pretty sweet. It did very much give me FromSoft Souls vibes, so maybe it will be that style of game. But if you're into your Souls-like games, this may well be something to look forward to. And obviously, if you're into kind of your Asian Oriental style games, then, you know, I'm sure a lot of people will be also interested to hear about the new Dynasty Warriors Origins. So we're going to get a new Dynasty Warriors title coming out in 2025, which looked pretty cool. So there's some interesting ones. We obviously found out about Until Dawn, which is going to be getting a PlayStation 5 and PC release coming out in fall 2024. We got to see more on the Silent Hill 2 remake, which is from Bloober Team. I'm still not sold on what they've shown us recently about it. The gameplay hasn't really blown me away. Not as much as things like Resident Evil. I don't really know too much about Silent Hill 2 because honestly, I didn't play the original. But yeah, like, I just feel, it just feels a bit weird, a bit off. I can't really explain it, but maybe we'll get to see more. And then Capcom finally showcased Monster Hunter Wilds. So we actually got to see more on Monster Hunter Wilds, which is kind of cool. We got to see a cutscene, some of the characters. We got to see some new monsters as well, which look pretty cool. I'm a big Monster Hunter fan. I played a lot of Monster Hunter World and I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. I did play Monster Hunter Rise. Didn't enjoy that as much. I really do prefer my Monster Hunter games when they're kind of more open world, like Monster Hunter World was. So I am very much looking forward to Wilds because it is supposed to be that more, like, I hope so, that more kind of open world style Monster Hunter. But yeah, like, it's definitely darker and grittier than I was expecting. So I'm wanting to see more. For me personally, I didn't feel that the showcase did the best. The trailer in the showcase did the best job of, like, really showing the game off, but I am interested in seeing more. And I know Edge and Strife are probably freaking out when they saw the gameplay, but it is not coming out till 2025, so there's still plenty of time to see more. And I wouldn't be surprised if Capcom probably will showcase more during the Summer Game Fest. I'd be very, very surprised if we didn't see more Monster Hunter Wilds. I think Capcom are going to really focus on that quite heavily, most definitely. And then obviously we do have the rumored kind of Code Veronica remake for Resident Evil, which I know many people will freak out about as well. And Capcom have had a really good track record recently, so I'm expecting the game to be good. I'm expecting good quality, so I'm hoping that's what we're gonna get. But the most exciting thing for me was the final announcement, which was that Team Asobi have actually made a new Astrobot game, which is awesome. Really excited to play that. I actually love the Astrobot series, and I played the hell out of Astrobot. I think Playrooms, was it, when the PlayStation 5 came out? That game was so good, and it really did a great job of showcasing the PlayStation 5, the controller and the haptic feedback and everything. So I am like, it is legitimately a good platforming game. Like, Astrobot is a legitimately good platforming game. It's a lot of fun, really creative, and just fun to play. So I'm really looking forward to it because the trailer did a great job of showing off the game, the different worlds and biomes that you can go to, the bosses. Some of the bosses look fantastic, like literally lifted out of Super Mario Odyssey. So I'm very much looking forward to the new Astrobot game, which is coming out on the 6th of September, and I will definitely be picking that up at 100%. I might even stream it because I actually think it's really fun to watch. And it's just a really fun, joyful game. I really enjoyed it a lot, and so yeah, I'd be totally game for streaming that and playing that. So you know, it wasn't a complete loss. Like, it wasn't a total bomb. Like, it's not like none of these games don't have virtue. Some of them absolutely do. But I'm not interested in live service, and it really doesn't do it for me. I'm more interested in, obviously, the first party games. I'm more interested in the big narrative driven, character story driven, third person gorgeous games that we're used to. Like, I'm really excited for the next Ghost of Tsushima from Sucker Punch Productions. I'm really interested in Insomniac's Wolverine. I really want to see more on that. Apparently, you know, the Horizon team are working on, I think, a co-op multiplayer for Horizon, hopefully, which I'm actually really interested in. I think playing multiplayer co-op in Horizon, damn, that would be so fun. Like, it would be like Monster Hunter. So I'm kind of really looking forward to that, and I want to see more on that. So those are the things that I'm really wanting to see more than, you know, these other kind of like third party games, obviously, that are coming in. Although I think some of them are first party studios. Like, I think Firewalk Studios are owned by Sony. So definitely there's some here that would be classed as first party, but they're not big hitters for me, you know. But yeah, so generally speaking, I wasn't massively blown away by it. I just felt it was a little bit meh, and I really do think that Sony really needed to bring their A game to this state of play, and they really didn't do that. Obviously, Sony over the last couple of weeks have not had great PR. They had the whole mess with Helldivers 2, then obviously the whole mess with PSN and Ghost of Tsushima being like delisted in like over 200 countries, which is ridiculous. And yeah, they just haven't had great PR recently. Sony just seemed to be dropping the ball. So they really did need to kind of, you know, drum up a little bit of excitement, a little bit of faith in what they are doing. And I really do feel like they've been steering the ship wrong in the last kind of like 12 months or so. So they really need to get back on and realize, you know, why people have invested in a PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation 5, what the community really love, and don't forget, you know, where they've come from, like trying to chase that live service cash cow that they're clearly looking for. They've got to be careful they don't forget where they came from and start to alienate their fan base. They definitely have to get that balance there. That's fine having some live service titles, no problem, but don't put too much focus on that, because people will start to lose faith and they'll just start to see you as kind of a greedy corporation, which technically they are, but you know what I mean. So like, we'll have to see, obviously. Yeah, I want to see more on the first party studios, and hopefully we'll get that in the next state of play. But yeah, not overly blown away. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What did you guys think of Sony's state of play? Were there any of these games that you were interested in? What did you think about them? What would you have liked to have seen? What were you hoping to see? Please share those in the comment section below. Let's get a conversation going. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's just a tangent, my general thoughts on the state of play, what I thought of the games revealed, and all that good stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody, and as always, happy gaming. I should go.